Okay, so sit yourself just on your left. If you would prefer, you can do supta baddha rather than rather than cross legs. If you're feeling a little tired, it's a nice way to start a session just in supta baddha, so you can do that. An alternative, if you're feeling poorly, have a little wriggle about. Just feel that you're sitting evenly, and then hold onto your knees. Lift your chest, and then spend a moment to draw the breath in through the nose and out through the nose, listening to the sound of the breath as it enters and as it exits. Soften your jaw, soften your tongue, soften the throat. Just work to lift and open the front chest, drawing the trapezius muscle down the back, and then draw the shoulder blades towards each other. So in order to open the front chest, we work to its mirror image at the back chest and draw the shoulder blades together, drawing the trapezius muscle downwards. And then bring your hands into Namaste, lengthen from the armpits into the elbows. Just look down at the floor, look at something that's not moving. Just softening the jaw and the tongue and the throat. And with an exhalation, allow your eyes to gently close. Filling the lungs from the bottom to the top, emptying the lungs from the top to the bottom. Breathing into both lungs evenly, breathing out of both lungs evenly. And then gently draw your chin down to meet your chest. Just spend a moment to seek to generate a genuine, heartfelt sense of gratitude for something or someone. Hold on to that feeling of abundance in the heart area And then release the backs of your hands down to your knees, palms facing upwards. And then raise your head and allow your eyes to gently open. So hold onto your knees, lift and open the chest, and then turn to the right side. Just feeling how you kind of squeeze the sleep out of your body as you rotate to the right. So spinal twists are good cleansers of the spine. They release toxins that you accumulate. And so just a good way to really clean out the blood. But also practicing twists is just good for life in general. Just reversing your car. It teaches you how to turn rather than just to turn your neck. Come back to the center, hold onto your knees, lift, open your chest, and then again turning from the abdomen, just enjoying that intense stretch as you rotate. Just working with the breath, using the out breath to intensify the turn. And then come back to the center. Just come down onto your knees, your big toes together, your knees apart, and then just wriggle into your heels for supta virasana. So the inner edge of the feet, the big toes touching, the knees wide enough apart so you're going to be able to bring your chest through. Lift and open the chest, drawing the trapezius muscle down, gathering the shoulder blades together, and then just start to come forwards in Adho Mukha Virasana. Dynamically extending your arms, so it's not just a collapse in action coming forwards. There's the effort to keep the seat bones in contact with the heels, and then the dynamic extension from the hips into the armpits, but then at the same time as hips to the armpits, armpits to the hips, trapezius to the tailbone, and then bring your head down. So keeping your arms actively, dynamically extended, feeling the armpit region open. Listen to the sound of the breath. And then come up onto your knees, turn your toes under, and then come up into dog down. Just breathing evenly and deeply, turning the fronts of the thighs inwards, broadening the backs of the thighs outwards. And then just step your feet forwards, come up into a standing position. And then some blocks for your hands. Turn your toes inwards, turn the big toes towards each other, bring your heels apart, and then activate your legs, tighten your kneecaps, draw the kneecap through to the back of the knee. Your hands on your hips and lift the front chest, squeeze the elbows towards each other behind you, and then hinge at the hips. And then reach down and find the blocks. See if you can draw your seat bones up away from the backs of the thighs. Press the fronts of the thighs through to the backs of the thighs. Broaden out the backs of the thighs. Lift the seat bones. Project the chin and the chest forwards. If you can come down lower, then do. If you can come down onto the floor, then do. But stay on fingertips rather than heels of hands. Heels of hands are a collapsing foundation. Fingertips just encourage you to lift up into the armpits, project the chin and the chest forwards. If you can, just stay at whichever level you need with the blocks. If you're protecting your back, I mean, we should all protect our back, of course, but if you've got back problems, then stay on the blocks. If there's no problems with your back, then you can reach around the backs of your heels and then draw the body in to the space between the two legs. So keeping the legs straight, tightening the kneecaps, turning the fronts of the thighs inwards so that the backs of the thighs broaden outwards, lifting the seat bones high. And then release your hands underneath your shoulders. And then just walk your hands to the end of your mat. Have your hands shoulder width apart, have your feet hip width apart, and then come back up into dog down. Seeing if you can maintain that length in the spine that you were aiming towards with uttanasna. That activation in the legs that you were helping maintain throughout your uttanasana as you came down onto your bringing the body down between the legs. Bend your knees a little, bend your right knee, bring the right knee to make contact with the right wrist. Bring the foot underneath the left hip, that right foot, and then come up into pigeon, rajakopotasana. Just lifting the chest, extending into that right leg, turning the front of the thigh of that back leg, broadening the back of the thigh. The front of the thigh turns inwards, the back of the thigh turns outwards, so that you broaden the sacrum spine. Bring the palms of the hands down, turn your toes under, and then step back up into dog down. refreshing the action of the legs, the extension of the spine, and then bend both knees a little, and then swing the left knee to make contact with the left wrist. Bring the left foot underneath the right hip, stretching that right leg back, coming up onto the fingertips and extending the chest up towards the ceiling. Turning the front of the thigh of that back leg so that the back of the thigh broadens outwards, so that you broaden the sacrum area of the spine. Breathing evenly, stretching up into the chest. Bringing the palms of the hands down onto the floor, turning your toes under. Just step the foot back, step the back leg in a little, and then just come back up into dog down. And then just step your feet forwards and then come up into standing position. Come into Tadasana, lift and open the chest, elevating the spine upwards. So observe how your feet connect to the floor. Try and bring your weight into your heels by hitting your shins back. Lift up into the chest, draw your shoulders down away from your ears. Breathe evenly and deeply listening to the sound of the breath. Stretch your arms in front, drawing your consciousness into each individual finger, observing that you don't disturb your legs as you stretch your arms forward. Turn the palms all the way out to the backs of the hands face each other, and then like you're doing breaststroke in the swimming pool, bring your arms away. Try and keep your arms high as you stretch your arms behind you, and then bend your elbows, and then bring the hands up into Namaste behind your back, namaskarasana. So try and bring fingers together initially, and then lengthen from the shoulders into the elbows, and then draw in the elbows towards the back of the room, and then drawing the elbows in towards each other into the wrists, so that the palms of the hands come a little flatter. If you can't do that, then just hold on to the elbows behind the back. Breathing evenly, deeply drawing the abdomen towards the spine to protect the lumbar, but lifting and opening the chest. Soften the jaw. Maybe you notice that the neck and the jaw becomes tense. Allow it to soften. And then just very gently release your hands and then stretch your arms out. Just breathing evenly, deeply listening to the sound of the breath. Stretch your arms forwards, turn the palms all the way out, reach all the way behind you, bring the hands into Namaste again for the second time. Maybe it feels a little more, like you've got a bit more space. And then again, activate your shoulder, elbows away from the shoulders, elbows towards the back of the room, and then elbows in towards each other. Lift and open the chest. And then step your feet apart. Turn your left toes in steeply and the right leg and foot all the way out. Just pick up that back heel, turn it out a little more. Keep the palms firmly together. Now we're going to come over into parsvottanasana, but if you lose your balance, just release your arms and use your hands to find the floor. Otherwise, lift and open the chest. So you have to really activate that back leg. So push that back heel firmly into the floor and then swing the abdomen from the left to the right a little. Drawing the hip, that left hip forward. And then come forward, keeping your arms in the namaskarasana if you can. And then coming down along the leg, keeping the head lifted. Stretching out the legs. And then come back to the center. Come facing the front. Step the feet back together. And then just release the hands. So we just work to open up the top of the body, also to stretch out the legs. Now it's the back leg that's really, really important, because in this back leg, when you bring that back leg back, that back hip wants to kind of usually come back as well. So you've got to try and level out the hips. So one way of doing that is to just draw the back leg side of the abdomen across. But it's really got to come from that back leg. So that back leg has to tadasana, has to turn at the front and broaden at the back. So lift and open the chest. Spread the palms. Observe how the hands have kind of woken up a little. Stretch your arms forwards, turn the palms all the way out, and then reach behind you. Keep your arms high for as long as you can, and then bend your elbows. Bring the hands up into namaskarasana behind your back. And then bring the elbows back, lengthen from the elbows into the heels of the hands. And then step the feet nice and wide. Turn the right toes in, the left leg and foot all the way out, and then turn the right heel out even more. So really plant that back leg, that back foot into the floor, turning that front of the thigh, that back leg inwards, turning the back of the thigh outwards, bringing the abdomen just gently across from the right to the left, and then gently come forwards, but never losing that back leg. That back leg is really essential in your ability to hold the pose. So I lost my balance there, so I just brought my arms down. So if you bring your arms down, just extend your spine away like you would be if you had the hands in your back. And then step your feet forward, come up into standing pose, and then just come back into Tadasana. Just breathing evenly, deeply. Bring the feet hip width apart, turn your toes in, raise your arms up, hook the thumbs into the crease of the elbow, wrap your fingers around your elbows. Just go down halfway if you're protecting your back using the wall. Otherwise, just hang down in uttanasna. Just letting the top of the body hang down, activating your legs deeply. Working both legs evenly. Okay, and then release your hands down to the floor and then come up into a standing position. Just come down onto your back for supta, baddha, konasana. So just come down initially directly onto the floor. So pulling your feet in towards the seat bones. Bringing the feet as close to the seat bones as you can. And then broadening the abdomen. So listen to the breath as you fill the lungs evenly on both sides. Listen to the breath as you empty the lungs evenly on both sides. Feel that you can broaden the abdomen by drawing the abdominal walls down into the floor. Lengthen your arms up to the ceiling, interlock your fingers, turn the palms of the hands all the way out, and then lengthen your arms along the floor, just stretching out the upper body, keeping the feet firmly placed together, using blocks underneath your hips if you need to support, blocks underneath the thighs if you need to support your hips, blocks underneath your hands if you need to support your shoulders. Otherwise, just stretching out using the floor, broadening the abdomen, keeping the abdominal walls drawing down towards the floor. And then release your arms up to the ceiling, swap the interlock of the fingers so that you do the unnatural interlock of the hands, and then lengthen your arms along the floor. And then just gently release your arms to the sides of the body. Rest your hands on your lower ribs for a moment. And then gently draw your knees together. Have your knees together, your feet apart for a moment, just to level out and even out the stretch in the hips. And then draw your knees in towards your chest. Just have a little rock from side to side, from top to bottom. And then roll over onto your right side. And then just sit yourself up. And then get yourself a bolster. If you don't have a bolster, you can just use some cushions. So have a bolster for supta virasana. Now, for some, supta virasana might be a little intense, just to go back directly onto a bolster. So what you can do is just fold up your blanket, just give yourself a good additional lift on top of the blanket. So if you struggle in supta virasana, it's always good to kind of give yourself that kind of little extra cushioning underneath. Most people need a cushion for underneath the head, so you can use a blanket for that if you need it. Otherwise, come down to your knees together, thumbs into the backs of the knees, draw the calf muscle away from the knee, and then just make sure you're not sitting on your bolster. And then lift the chest on the way down. And it's important to lift the chest to go down, because that gives you length in the spine. So just bring yourself down. If you're wearing glasses, it's nice to take them off in these reclining poses. So initially, for most, this isn't massively comfortable. You have to find your comfort within the pose. So try and keep your knees together if you possibly can. Sometimes we tie our legs together, but we're not going to do that today. Just pick up the seat bones and then get hold of the buttock flesh and drive that buttock flesh down towards the backs of the knees. So encourage the buttock flesh to draw down towards the backs of the knees, and then broaden the abdomen so that the abdomen draws out to the abdominal wall. So you really support the lumbar spine. Give yourself more support if you need it. Otherwise, just bring your hands out to the sides of the body for a moment. Palms facing upwards. Just listen to the breath. Just feel the challenge of the physical pose. Just listening to the sound of the breath as it enters and as it exits. And try and bring the breath into the pose. Make the breath consciously soft. So at first, this feels like it's a challenging pose, and it probably still feels like it's a challenging pose, even now. So bring softness into the breath. Often we allow that challenge to interrupt the breath. And then if we interrupt the breath, then the whole pose becomes unbearable. So take conscious effort to breathe evenly. Remember, you can always put extra lift underneath you. You can put some blocks underneath your bolsters to just give you a little extra lift if you need it. Or you go into supta baddha with the bolster underneath you. Just breathe evenly as if there was no physical challenge. So filling your lungs from the bottom to the top, breathing into both lungs evenly, breathing out of both lungs evenly. breathing as gently and as deeply as you can. Just observing how the chest rises upwards and outwards with the in-breath as you inhale into both lungs evenly and as you exhale out of both lungs evenly. So the first stage of any pranayama is just to observe the breath, to try to make the breath as deep and even as though there was no physical challenge to the body. Okay, when you're ready, just push your elbows into the floor and then push your hands into the floor, lift the chest, and then just gently come up onto your knees, come up onto all fours, just step back a little. Your legs will be very reluctant to straighten, so just respect that. Just let your legs start to recover, turn your toes under gently, and then just very gently bring yourself up into dog down. Just straighten the legs when your legs will allow, and bring the heels down just to stretch out the feet. So while we normally avoid bringing the heels down unless the legs are really actively working, after virasana, it's just a good way to stretch out of your feet, out of the intensity of supta virasana. And then when you feel that your legs have recovered, then just come down. And then pull your knees. So sit with the bolster behind you, pull your knees, your feet in towards the seat bones as close as you can get them. You could always use the belt in the big loop, remember, so this just helps to kind of hold you in position. So get the belt into the big loop. You don't have to use the belt, but it's useful. So have the belt in a big loop, then put it around the lower back, in between your two knees, and then around your feet, and then pull the kind of tail end of the belt so that the belt becomes tight. It's not too tight, but kind of definitely that it's kind of holding your legs in position. And then when you're satisfied with the tightness of the legs, then lift the chest to drive yourself down along the bolster. Have a blanket for your head or have something underneath your head to support your head so that your head isn't rolling back. You might need to come in and out of the pose a few times just to feel that you're really found that support. Bring your hands out to the sides of the body, palms facing upwards. Feel the openness of the chest, openness of the abdomen. Just breathe evenly into both lungs. Feeling the chest rising upwards and outwards. So we're going to move into Ujjayi stage 2. So Ujjayi pranayama stage 1 is where we just observe the breath, where we observe the lifting of the chest as we inhale, the falling of the chest as we exhale. The sound of the breath and the feeling of the breath as you fill both lungs evenly. As you move into stage 2, we extend the out breath. So it's a normal inhalation and a slow, deep, steady exhalation until the lungs feel empty. And then normal inhalations. So it's an extended out breath with a long, slow, deep, steady exhalation until the lungs feel empty. And then normal inhalations. So whenever you're ready, begin with a normal inhalation, a normal exhalation, a normal inhalation, and then slow, deep, steady exhalation until the lungs are empty. And then cycle around normal inhalation, extended exhalation. Maintaining the evenness of breathing into both lungs, breathing out of both lungs. From the top to the bottom, from the bottom to the top with the in-breath, from the top to the bottom with the out-breath. And then bring the breath back to a normal rhythm. Normal inhalations, normal exhalations. And then when you're ready, push your elbows into the floor, lift your chest, and then just bring yourself back up into a seated position, and then just slip the belt off your legs. Stay with the bolster and just bring your knees towards each other and then straighten your legs out along the floor, just stretching your legs out. And then we're going to finish in our restorative surfboard pose. So we're going to lay on our front. If you have got maybe a chesty cough, then maybe laying on your front isn't going to feel great. So you can just lay on your back with your legs. So stay on the bolster, but with your legs stretched out in heart pose. Otherwise, you're just going to come down onto the floor, have a block for your head. If you've got an extra little kind of rolled up blanket, you can put that underneath your shins. But you don't necessarily need that, but that just helps you to kind of rest your legs a little. So it's just the end of the bolster. You have to have your head hanging off the end of the bolster, so the pelvis is probably supported. Have the block for your head, rest your forehead on the block, and then just let your arms just rest on the floor, just above your head. And then release into the floor. Just let the body gently release into the floor. If the block is too heavy on your head, then you just cover it with a blanket, just make it a bit softer. Have your chin free of the end of the bolster. Just allowing yourself to release into the floor. Just let go of the physical body. So if this doesn't feel good, then you can just turn yourself around. Just have the upper body supported on the bolster. Okay, when you're ready to disturb yourself, just bring your hands underneath your shoulders if you're in surfboard. Sit yourself up if you're in heart pose. Just lift yourself up. Just sit back on your heels for a moment. And then Just sit on your bolster or on your lift, and then just come into cross legs, lift and open your chest. Draw your shoulders down away from your ears. Bring your hands into Namaste. Breathe evenly. Close your eyes. Breathe down into the abdomen. Be conscious of the energy that you have released through your practice this morning, that good, positive, healthy flow of clean energy, that the extensions, the forward bends, the twists, the reclining poses bring to the body and to the mind. And then draw your chin down to meet your chest. Spend a moment to seek to acknowledge the positive energy you've created inside. And then send some of that positive energy out into the world. And then gently release the backs of your hands down toward your knees, palms facing upwards. As you raise your head, allow your eyes to softly open and the focus to softly come back. Thank you very much. Thank you. So hopefully you feel like you've given yourself a really good stretch and you've released your energy into the day. So thank you very much for joining me.